My little buttercup has the sweetest smile. Dear little buttercup, won't you stay a while? Come with me where moonbeams paint the sky, and you and I might linger in the sweet by and by. Oh, dear little buttercup, with your eyes so blue.
Shall we?
Hi, comic book guys and gals. I'm Joe, and here we are at another episode of DC Watch. And I'm here with my compatriots, two of them. We have Dave from Action Figure Comedy, and we have Lenny, also known as Fly, Die. Scary, right? Scary. Anyway, so hi guys, how you doing tonight?
Doing all right. Better now with that intro.
So we're all very excited. And why is that? Because James Gunn and Peter Safran have become the new heads of Warner Brothers DC Studio, also known now as DCU. No more DCEU. That was confused me anyway. It's DCU. So I'm pretty happy about that for a number of reasons. What do you guys think?
Finally, it's somewhat of a win as a DC fan, because I've always said, like, as a DC fan, it always feels like, you know, I'm this lonely kid who's waiting for a dad to come home. So now instead of one dad, we got two dads. And then, you know, Kevin Feige's name has always been thrown around as like the standard of like what kind of person should head DC. But I think two heads are better than one, in my opinion. So what I'm getting at is, you know, one handles the show and the other handles the business.
Right.
I mean, James Gunn is an outstanding creative. He has a unique voice. He's done some terrific work for both Marvel and DC. I've really liked what he's done, so I'm thrilled he's a part of it. And Safran, at first I was like, wait, who is this again? And I'm like, oh, I know where I've seen him.
The billion-dollar man.
When I watched the behind the scenes for Shazam, he's a producer. So he has produced two. All right, sorry, I got the action figures, guys. Shazam, probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, DC Universe films. And Aquaman, one of the most profitable. They made $1 billion. So they've got guys who have, I think, a fantastic track record, specifically even with this genre and with some of their properties. So I'm excited, you know, that you have people with that kind of track record now heading up, you know, your studios. And Lenny touched on a lot of points. And I'm optimistic. Look, you never know where this is going to go, but everything I'm hearing so far, even just something
Dave is
simple
always
like,
a pessimist. He always brings us down.
No, maybe you're just a realist, Dave. You're a realist. Okay.
No. But look, I'm excited, and I think there's a lot of reason for hope.
Well, Superman's a pretty pessimistic character. So.
Man.
I don't think
I
so.
think I believe the odds are in their favor.
Okay.
Sure. I think, you know, they've hit it out of the park before. Their batting average is high, so I'm excited. And if you really want to like get the fanboys just completely going, there are nearly 8 billion people on this planet. There is only one who I think has a chance in Hades of having DC and Marvel come together for a team-up film, and that is James Gunn.
Oh, wow.
I'm not saying that's going to happen. But that's just like the fanboy dream. No, but I'm excited for DC and
Let's
Warner Brothers.
crawl and walk before we fly. How about that?
No. You just called me a pessimist. I'm getting really optimistic on you. No, look, these guys have done some great stuff. I hope they continue.
These are people who seem to have a pulse on what the fans want and what they like, and are able to take even obscure characters and make them the type of characters in stories that the audience really loves. I know you want critics to like it because it helps maybe to bring in the money and stuff like that. But if the fans like it, they'll keep on coming back. And from you mentioned Saffron, and from a business situation, if they really think that a movie is going to make $500 million or $600 million, you can position the course of that movie and what you're going to do in a way that you can still make a pretty penny on it. So I think if they look at it that way and they build upon that, they'll have that. Aquaman was already $1 billion movie. They'll have more of those, especially if they do it the right way. And I think the history that they have there, to me at least, I agree with you, Dave, makes me hopeful. The proof is always in the pudding. I agree with that, But if you don't position yourself in a way when you're saying, sorry, Cavill, you're not going to be Superman anymore. Well, what the heck? You're not listening to the fans. The clamor was just amazing on that. Same thing with the Zack Snyder, but for whatever reason, they were just against these people. To me, it seemed that there was a lot of personality issues going on. Because why not take something that you see the fans love and want, and they could probably make you a ton of money, and just say, nope, we're going to have a Supergirl. We're going to have Batman from 1989, come in and get rid of the Batfleck and all that. I don't know. Maybe it would have worked, but I tend to doubt it. I think here you've got now the foundation, to talk and to build about it. Lenny, you spoke about the problems that the MCU has. I echoed you, and I said that's the problem. They don't have their big two, Iron Man and Captain America. What these guys seem to be doing with David Zaslav's blessing is, let's bring our big two, and maybe we call it our Trinity with Wonder Woman. Let's give her a better movie for 3, and let's get them together, because that's the solidifying part, And in my standpoint, look at the James Bond. James Bond is the character. 3, 4, 5 movies, whatever, over the space of 5 to 10 years. Too old. You get somebody else to play him. Why can't you do that here? Why can't Cavill be Superman for the next 5 to 10 years, whatever, and whatever new movies are there? Then you get somebody else to play him. I think that's fine. Cavill can come back and play a Kingdom Come Superman at the end when he gets some gray hair and loves. And from a standpoint of dollars and cents, which Mr. Zaslav is certainly looking for, that is what you want.
What do we think of Zaslav so far, I guess, and what he's talking about, what he's thinking of doing, and whatever else? So I don't know. What do you guys think of Zaslav so far? Plus, minus, middle?
It's kind of hard to tell, because he's been. The birth of this show came from the fact that Zaslav was axing shows left and right, including Batgirl.
Zaslav, some of the things he's cut, some of those things are hard. Batgirl was on on television in the 60s. She's been around on screen as a superhero a lot longer than any Marvel character in terms of a live action. Most DC characters, like every superhero is somebody's favorite. Gail Simone, devastated by losing that Batgirl movie, and I don't blame.
I was going to say that's my favorite run of Batgirl. After she left, I continued for a while, but it was not the same thing. That run of Batgirl and the artwork during that time as well was fantastic. And my hope was that the Batgirl movie was going to take, that piece of action and that type of Batgirl and put her on the screen.
Yeah, some of the decisions that have been made in his presence, they do hurt. But if the reports are true that Batgirl look like a CW pilot, and they're going to throw that up in the big screen, I think the former regime would be okay with releasing something like that in theaters, which is going to be another cannon fodder that will be used against DC. It's like, oh, another DC stinker. And Zaslav did it for, financial reasons as well.
That's what I wanted to touch upon that, because you're talking about business. And I was involved many times in either buying a portion of a company, on the loss side, or actually buying an entire company. And so one of the things that you do when that happens, and some people, and when you're part of these corporate type of things, you almost have to kind of separate yourself from the humanity, all right? Because again, as a corporation, you have shareholders, and what you're trying to do is to increase the value of each one of the shares and of your shareholders' value in the company. So when you buy something, you have to take a look at what you have. And the first thing you have to look at is see whether or not there's any duplicity, any kind of overlap of stuff. Because if it is, that's going to go, you know?
Yeah.
But you might keep some of the people that you got because they might be better than the ones that you had, right? And then finally, what you're going to look at is the product. You're going to look at the product. And if the product, if you're looking at it and you're buying a company that has these products, you already have an idea of what you're going to be doing there, because you're going to have to parlay all of that into something that's going to make sense and make money, you know, for the company, and also please your customers, because that's how you're going to make the money. So I'm sure he already had in mind, and I want to say he is probably him and his hierarchy of people that, because believe me, when you go through some of this, there's a bunch of people up there making decisions, and people like me that were providing advice. We're sitting down there and we're providing advice, and sometimes they don't take our advice, and sometimes it turns out better if they don't. Sometimes it turns out not as good if they don't. But there's a hierarchy of people making these type of decisions. So before they went ahead and did this merger, paid this money or whatever it happened to be, they already had an idea of what they were going to do. And I am sure that all the stuff that Zaslav is saying is like, hey, you know, you got Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, you know, we got all these people here. We have to show them we need more Superman. They already had that written down somewhere. That is what they were going to do, you know. And so going through that route and some of the stuff we've seen either rumored or happening, you know, in the very near past or coming up in the future, should not be surprising to someone who heard what he had to say when they bought it and then think this was part of their plan all along. And that's what I have to believe was the case.
That gives me hope because he understands, like, hey, we had the last Superman movie was like, aside from the Justice League 2017, was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like you haven't had a sequel to Superman, you know, your flagship character, you know, it's like, that's strange.
Well,
Right.
And I feel like they, like you were alluding to, they lost confidence in these characters and these versions of these characters, and I don't think they needed to. I think they just needed to tweak a couple things instead of leaving. I'm going to use a sports analogy. As a fan of a team that isn't doing well, you know, you want to see him get rid of the general manager. You want to see him get rid of the coach. The team's been lousy for years. Get rid of everybody, bring in new people. And sometimes that works. So they bring in the new people. You're cautiously optimistic. You hope it works out. And then sometimes the new people aren't very good either. And your team continues to stink. So then you go through it all again. Right now we're at the point where the general manager and the coach of the team that's been losing for years have been shown the door. And we have the new general manager and the new coach. And there's hope. There's excitement. And I'm hopeful and I'm excited. But I'm also aware that it's possible that maybe in a few years my team isn't any better. And I really hope that's not the case. So I'm cautiously optimistic.
So let's say that Zaslav hires us, since we know so much.
Which
And
any wise
we
executive
are the pulse.
should do.
What's that?
Which any wise executive should do.
Yeah, we're the pulse of fandom.
DC Watch, baby.
And we know what they should be doing. We know what Zaslav should be doing. So let's give him some advice.